Assalamu alaikum. My name is Jamie, and I converted to Islam a week and a half ago. Wow. Before I became a Muslim, I was not a very conservative person. I was not a very good person. I modeled for Playboy. I did that for about 5 years, and during that time, I did a lot of drugs. And I thought, oh, I can do meth, and I won't get addicted because I'm just using it as a weight loss helper, and you know, I'll just use it every once in a while to just keep myself from eating so much. Yeah, right. I thought I was strong enough to not get addicted to a drug that absolutely addicts basically everyone who uses it. So I started doing meth, and I would probably give it a couple weeks, and then I got really addicted to it, and I did it all day and all night for 5 years. And it really brought me to a place of complete rock bottom. And my husband at that time had been doing it with me, and he started getting violent with me, and I was afraid for my life. So I decided to quit. I decided that that's not what I wanted for my life. And I told him, I said, I'm going to quit. And he laughed at me, and he said, yeah, right, you're not going to quit. And I said, you know what? I'm going to quit. I quit that day cold turkey. Never again looked back. I didn't have any type of rehab, no outside help, no support system. I had my husband laughing at me and trying to get me to do it again. After that, I had my little boy. My whole focus on life kind of changed. I had this wonderful little boy who needed a good mother, and I loved him so much. I wanted to change everything that I focused on for him. All right, guess what's going to happen? The train's going to take off. Like an airplane! I researched Islam for a while before I chose to convert. Basically, I wanted to know why people hated Muslims so much because, you know, I saw what I saw on the news. I saw the oppression and the violence, and I wanted to know what really existed and if that was the way that Islam was. So I started researching it, and the more and more I researched it, the deeper I got into it, I saw the truth in it. I think the main thing that I liked about Islam was the respect for women. There is a large amount of respect for women and the things that we do as women. Our lives aren't easy. We have a lot of things that we have to think and worry about. Our families, our husbands, our children. I mean, we have to bear children. That's a really hard thing to go through. And, you know, a lot of us have to cook and clean and work and raise children and take care of, you know, the house and our husband. It's a difficult job. And the fact that Islam respects women for that, and, you know, they separate us at mosques so that the men aren't distracted by us because they understand, Islam understands the power that we have behind our, well, I guess you could say our sexuality. The way that we look is powerful to men, and they're affected by it. And Islam respects that. Once I realized that, it really it grabbed a hold of me. And that's when I knew I wanted to become a Muslim. How many Frankies do you have?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Converting to Islam made me feel different. It made me feel absolutely peaceful. It took away, I felt unstable before. I felt like a lot of things in my life were just up and down, and there was a lot of things that were up and down because they hadn't been decided on. There was no goal in mind. There was no reasoning for me being here. You know, I didn't know why I should be here. And converting to Islam gave me the peace and the security and the balance that I needed in my life. It made everything make sense. It made everything real. And it made everything worth being here for because I finally have a purpose and I understand what it is. My dad never really knew about my past with the drugs and the Playboy modeling and all that stuff. He and I didn't speak for 8 years. He kicked me out of the house when I was 17 years old, and I lived under a freeway overpass for a week. I was homeless, and all I had with me was what I could fit into my backpack and my bass guitar. So we didn't speak for 8 years after that, and he didn't understand or wouldn't have understood is that these are experiences that I needed to have on my own. I needed to have the pain on my own, and I needed to have the recovery on my own. The only reason why I started speaking to him again was because I got pregnant with my son, and I figured that my son needed a grandfather. When I did come back and finally start speaking to him again, we had a beautiful conversation together, and we discussed what had happened before, and we both apologized to each other and promised to never do it again. So this is my daddy, and he's my best friend in the whole wide world. And that's something I never thought was going to happen. But now that it has, I love him so much. The first time my dad learned about my conversion, I was on my way home from Sacramento. I had just gone to a mosque up there and converted. And I was driving home, and I was too afraid to call him because I knew he was going to be really mad. So I texted him on the phone and I said, "Dad, can you please try to start having an open mind about Muslims? Can you please start just not being so judgmental and believing everything you see on the news?" And he texted me back and said, "Why?" So I said, "Well, Dad, I'm Muslim." My father was not too pleased when he found out that I converted to Islam. He was quite unhappy to the point where I feared that I was going to have to leave. We live in the same home and we work at the same job, and I haven't gone back to the job since. But living at home has been very tense. He's been very confrontational about it at times. Tabarak Allazi Nazala Furqana ala abdihi liyakuna lil alamina nazira. Allazi lahu mulkuza mawati wal arzi walam yatakis waladan wa lam yakul lahu sharikun fil mulki wa khalaqwa kulla shay'in faqadarahu taqdira. That was difficult. I sound like a 3-year-old learning to read. Jaden really loves, he really loves going to mosque, and he really loves doing salat with me, and he really loves wearing the thobe. He gets excited about it, and he feels really good about it, which is great. It's precious to me that he is actually really involved in it and enjoying it and seeing what it opens up for him. He saw what it changed in me, and it brought a lot more calmness, a lot of kindness, and a lot more stability than what I had before, and he feels that, and I think it really has affected him in a very positive way. One of the things that I have had to change is the fact that I want to eat halal. And there are a lot of places out here that don't serve halal food. I've been eating at a lot of Persian and Arabian restaurants simply because they serve halal. Fortunately for me, there is a halal butcher within an hour of driving distance, or else I wouldn't be able to eat meat at home. There's a lot of fast food around. There's a lot of easy ways to eat meat that are quick, because out here, you know, everyone's so busy working and running around and doing their calendars and their schedules, and their kids have this and that going on. It's crazy out here. So when we really take the time to think about what we're putting in our bodies and how we want ourselves to feel and be, I don't think it would be as hard for people as they think it would be if they felt the true grace of Allah. I started wearing hijab the first day that I converted. Within an hour after converting, I drove to a shop and bought complete hijab because I felt like that's what would be most respectful to Allah, and that's what would be most respectful to myself, because I didn't want men looking at me and thinking things in their minds that aren't appropriate. I want for them to look at me and appreciate me for who I am on the inside, because that's really what matters, you know. I've spent enough years with men looking at me in that way, in bikinis and, you know, everything that I used to wear, and I don't need that. And I want to respect the religion, I want to respect Islam, and I want to respect Allah, and I want to respect myself.
Aw, thank you.
Some people ask me, actually a lot of people ask me if I'm 100% sure in my decision, because they think, oh, you know, she never said anything about this before, so this must be just a decision she just made on the fly, something temporary. You know, it's just a phase. She'll go through it and she'll be, you know, back to Jamie in the short skirts. And I wouldn't have made the decision to convert if I wasn't absolutely, positively, without a doubt, sure that this was the right decision, sure that this is the truth. Now that I'm a Muslim, the things that I see for the truth, the things that I can see for real, mean more to me than anything I've ever done. And if I can help a single person feel what I feel inside, my life would be complete.